Welcome to the Seraphine Podcast. I am Seraphine Arocha, and today we have Mae Monroe and we have Sam Levi. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm super excited for this podcast on so many different levels. Both of you are really excellent in the field that you are individually in. We have Mae, who is well known throughout Kansas City for her makeup artistry. You're also a brow artist.
Yes.
And are you also an esthetician as well? You've got a little bit of everything, right?
Yes, exciting resume.
I love it. And she's trained under some of my favorite makeup artists, and Makeup by Mario. If you don't know who he is, you need to get out from the rock you're living in. He does Kim Kardashian's makeup, Ashcombe, and Harouche.
Yes.
So these are great people to go, and no wonder your skin looks flawless and your makeup looks amazing.
Thank you.
But there's so much more to Miss Monroe, and we're going to be talking about how she takes Reiki and implements it within her practice of making women and people feel beautiful. And then we have let me just tell you, your reputation just precedes you. My love, Giovanna, was like, you have to meet this woman. She's this hair and this presence, and she's this photographer. And then she shows me these images. And she's not just a photographer, because again, there is a deep Reiki practice. And within that practice, I feel like you bring out something in your photography with the power of the healing that you have brought into your life with Reiki. So I'm so excited to hear about how you incorporate this in your individual businesses and now your friendship. So tell me the story of how the two of you know each other.
You can start.
I don't know how to start, Sam, because it was really magical.
It was. I mean, it's so intertwined. I think 2 years ago, I have the picture from our first meeting together, November 2018.
You share your side of the story. And
okay.
Okay.
Because I know that there's a couple edges
at
the beginning. But we met at Parlor. I think I just reached out to her because I was like, we should meet. And so we did. And we hit it off. And we were like, okay, let's shoot some photos together. And maybe I can try your services. And we both believe in like the reciprocity and exchange. So trade of services, as long as there's some sort of energetic exchange. So that happens, then we did that, and the rest is history. And now I shoot all her stuff, and she
that
does
was
my
such
face.
Surface level story. I'm gonna go in
well,
depth.
I love it.
It was the Cliff Notes.
So as we got the Cliff Notes, Mae is gonna peel back and dive into the pages here. All right.
Flipping the
Your
page.
throat chakra is more activated than mine.
Okay. So during this time, I was I was very heavily working in my business, and we all know that when we're focused on our business, we can't get distracted.
Yeah.
And usually, I tend to get lots of exciting interests to get a hold of me, to hang out with me, and during that time, I had to be micro-focused, and it's very hard for me to sway away. But Sam, of all the people, instead of just messaging me and asking for questions or asking to hang out, she would always just message me value, and I really appreciate that. She would message me links and resources. Sometimes when I post something on Facebook, she would say, hey, have you ever looked into this? Have you thought about this? This is just information for you. And I really liked that, and I really appreciated that. And so during this time, I was on my way to win Best Makeup Artist in Kansas City back in 2018. And I was throwing a party, and right before I threw a party, Sam sent me something about Bali, because this is right after I've done a trip to Peru and I've done ayahuasca, and she said, hey, my friend is going to Bali. These are all the information you need to know about Bali, because I've been wanting to go. And then I thought to myself, I said, I need to invite her, because she keeps sending me all of these valuable information. She's probably a good friend.
I love it.
So next thing you know, I threw my party, and I invited her, and she showed up by herself, and she was, me and her just chat, and me and her checked each other out. And then 2 weeks later, that's when she said, I would love us to meet. And that's when we met at the Parlor, and we talked. And then literally ever since then, it was like magic. So I want to say thank you, Sam. Thank you for being a valuable friend and not just a taker.
I love it. The synergy between the two of you is so interesting to watch, because energetically, you have a very like calm and grounded feeling. And with you, you have a very like watery, like you're like fluid. You're not so much air. I'm usually air.
I'm an air sign.
Yeah, and
So
I'm an air
like,
sign as well. I am too.
Yeah.
But when I am experiencing any kind of pivotal times in my life, I really, I'm like down and grounded. Because I'm so up here all the time. So the dynamic of your friendship, it's so interesting too, because I'm very curious, because Reiki isn't something that you just stumble into. Mm-mm. It's something that you seek, and you have to really be open to this idea of energy healing. Mm-hmm. So would you each share with me how you were introduced to Reiki and the why behind seeking out the information?
Mine's pretty long, Sam.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm Reiki 2 certified. I'm actually going to go and get my master's next year in Costa Rica with Christy Marsh. So I'm really excited about that. I didn't have a calling to do Reiki Master this last year, but I definitely now, in where I am in my journey, I definitely feel a calling to do it. Just for how I foresee the future and how many people I can help with it. So if it wasn't for Mae, I would have never done Reiki 1. Mm-hmm. And I believe that like Reiki 1, everyone should do it because it's literally looking into yourself and loving yourself. I encourage men to do it, and I even encourage couples to do it together. I think that it strengthens the bond of the relationship between the man and the woman, and it can take your relationship to the next level, because at the end of the day, if you don't love yourself, then it's different, because you can reflect those things onto your partner, and that's not fair. So I got my Reiki 1, immediately like had a calling to do the Reiki 2, which allows you to work on other people. And it is such a sacred thing, and I honor it that I have had the opportunity to learn what it is and to really dive deeper into my spirituality. I think my journey started like a couple years ago, and then ayahuasca is what really like lit me up.
Yeah.
I've always had a calling to do that for the last like 10 years. It just, I knew if it were ever like going to come to me, it would align, and then I would know. And so just navigating what that looks like, it was only the next steps in my journey to like step into Reiki.
As a child, were you somebody who was, I don't know, curious or like for me, I always had bad dreams, and I always wanted to, I had night terrors, and I wanted to understand what the dark shadows were in my room. But then I would have these amazing experiences to where I would have like the deja vu, like I've been here, I've lived here, I've experienced this, or that foreboding, or like like the air, the temperature changes, and I knew I had to leave or I had to go somewhere. But I come from a family that, they all quietly like to say that maybe they're witches. And I'm like, let's not use that word. I think that they have an openness. So as a child, were you always kind of aware that you had a little bit of a openness?
Yeah, because I come from a long line of
witches.
I call it intuitives.
Yeah, intuitives. Yeah.
I don't like to use the word witches because I think that's misconstrued in our society, and I think that there are like, there's just a lot. I don't even want to go there.
There's just so much negative connotation.
So it's like, I call it intuitives. I call it, apparently I'm not supposed to say that word. So, never mind.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, and it's so politically correct these days. I'm like, we're in like the month of Halloween. And to me, there's a lot of beauty in the idea of communicating with the dead. To me, there is, at least. But I also think that living on this planet right now, I think it's really important that we understand ourselves energetically and we peel back those layers. And I think we need to encourage it within the children that is like, hey,
100%.
like listen to your intuition. So talk to me about you, Mae, as a little girl and like into how you decided to study Reiki.
Well, when I was a little girl, I remember my my mom told me a story how when I was 2, we sat in one of her old friends who had just committed suicide in their bedroom. I guess she was help cleaning up the space. And she said I was 2 years old and I would point at the wall and say, he's right there. He's right there. And I think at the time my mom was such a young mom, she was so scared that she would say, don't say that. She would, yell at me and say, don't say that. So I've always been very open to seeing things. And even like growing up, I would see shadows, like you said, shadows in the corner of my eyes. Sometimes I would hear, I don't want to say I hear voices, but I hear thoughts that I know that is not mine. And not it was scary, it was just like I just was very open to it. But I never really told anybody because of that whole incident. My mom always said, don't say that. Yeah. It's your imagination. As I grew up, the thoughts and the voices did get more profound. And this is really important because I feel like a lot of people go through this and they don't know how to handle it, so they do turn to drugs and alcohol. Mine was alcohol because it was a way for me to escape, and I was able, like, just partying, I didn't have to think about it. But then when you go home and you're still drunk and you're laying in bed and you're like, these thoughts won't stop.
Yes, 100%.
So it was a really destructive self-sabotage time in my life because I didn't know what it was, and I was always drawn to psychic, drawn to readings, but all the ones that I went to, they just didn't align with me because some of them do have more of a dense energy, and some of them have a lighter energy, and the ones that I met were more dense. And people usually call that like witches or voodoo or stuff like that, and it's just light or dark, Yeah. And so, but I was always drawn to it. I was always drawn to metaphysical stuff, but I always kept it to myself. And then as I pursue my career, I got intertwined with a cosmetic company. I don't know if I can say it. Can I say it?
Yeah, you totally can. Trust me. I had someone who was on my...
I don't think it's a problem. Yeah. So, I left home when I was 17, and I was very ambitious, but also very lost at the same time. And I've always wanted to be a makeup artist. And that was my biggest thing. I was like go, what is that with 50 Cent? Try, get rich or die trying.
Yes.
So mine was become successful or just die trying.
Yeah.
So my aspirations was to be a big makeup artist, and I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew I wanted to do that. And next thing you know, it led me to a Mary Kay multimillionaire as my client.
Oh my gosh.
She loved my work, and she hired me on as her personal makeup artist, and I was just barely turned 21 at the time. And so I traveled all over the country as her makeup artist. It was really cool to do her makeup backstage and see her speak and present. And long story short, I did not want to do Mary Kay, but
what a company. I mean, I have to say, there is a place for companies like Mary Kay, even though a lot of people would love to just beat down certain avenues of sales. I mean, there's a reason why it's been around for decades.
Yeah, I would say Mary Kay is a beautiful experience. It's also a challenging experience, and it goes with all business.
100%.
But I just know I was her makeup artist, and it was really awesome, and she taught me a lot, and I'm so grateful. And she saw me as a daughter, I saw her as a mother. We were best friends, and long story short, she was like, I would love for you to be a director with Mary Kay. You'll be great. And I said, no, I just want to be a makeup artist. I was thinking very small. Yeah. Just a makeup artist, just want to be a makeup artist. And she was like, May, you can't ride my coattail forever. You're going to have your own name one day. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? But that really hit home. Yeah. Because a lot of times you think about it, most people are just their title and nothing more. Yes. So they're limited in that box. Yeah. So she was just trying to expand my mind, which I'm grateful for. And after a while, she says, just be a director. And I told her, I have no interest in selling Mary Kay, but she said, you'll be the first and only Vietnamese director to have that title. And at that point, my ego wanted that title because at that time, my parents or my family was just like, what are you doing? You're not going to make a living being a makeup artist. That's a failed, dream. Yeah. So I needed a title to get my family to respect me.
Oh, trust me, I know that.
Okay, so you get it.
I know that all too well.
So when she said, you'll be the only person, you'll be the first and only Vietnamese to have that title. So long story short, I did Mary Kay to get that title. I got the car, I got the money, paid off my debt, everything by the age of 24. And I told myself I would only do it a year. But what had happened was I was so ambitious in Mary Kay that it actually took me on a bigger platform, but away from my original goal. if that makes sense.
Totally. I understand.
And so I learned a lot of stuff, and I was becoming bigger in Mary Kay. And then it was taking me away from my original goal of being this successful esthetician and makeup artist. And now I was becoming this lead sales director, this lead educator. And my body got really sick. And my body got really sick, and I was becoming really depressed. Not to say it was anything with the company. It was because now looking back, it was not in alignment of my calling.
Yeah.
So when I was breaking down, because I remember I told myself, I said, I'm only going to do Mary Kay for 1 year. Well, after that 1 year, my body just collapsed. I got really depressed. I got really sick, and I didn't know why. And at the time I had a roommate, and she saw me like going on YouTube every day. What's my astrology for today? What's my future looking like as a Virgo? Because I was so desperate for answers because I was so lost.
Yeah.
And during that time, when you are a director, you're seen as a leader. And I was very alone at the time. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know how to talk to, because when you're at the top of your game, it's like, who do you turn to, right?
Well, and everybody thinks, well, you've reached it, and this is your pinnacle.
Yeah.
And this is where you want to be. And it's so funny when you're being pulled in a whole other direction, where even if you did vocalize that you had a calling for something else, the people surrounding you would be like, why?
Yes,
you
that's
have
what
everything
happened.
you want.
I was like the epiphany of success in Mary Kay, and I was headed to bigger status in the company.
Yeah.
And everyone around me was like, keep going, you're gonna be the face, you're making a difference. And of course everyone loves to hear that you're making a difference, you're making impact. But something in my heart was like, this is not the lane where you're going to make an impact. This was a big part of it, but not the end of it. So my roommate, I think she felt sorry for me. She's like, you should go get Reiki. And I was like, what is that? And at this point, I was going to a Curious bookstore and just getting like those readings for $20, trying to figure out my future. And she just felt so sad for me. So she's like, go get Reiki. I think that will help. Yeah. And that's when I met Christy Marsh. And anyone who hears this podcast, Christy Marsh is an amazing, powerful woman. We all respect her and honor her. I went to her, and she laid her hands on me, and I didn't have to say anything. She said, your time with Mary Kay has ended. It's time for you to move forward on your next path. And next thing you know, my stomach just deflated because I had so much stomach issues.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I could breathe, and it was just like having someone who didn't know what was going on confirm that and say, you did your part, they did their part, now it's time for you to move forward on a different way. And she says, you need to focus 1 year for yourself, and you're going to be much bigger in your own path. And so Reiki came into my life that way, and then so did Ayahuasca shortly. And I loved Reiki so much because it's all about hands-on and just praying and just, well, Christy's a little different. She just doesn't put her hands on you. She's very intuitive. So she's able to channel messages. So I would say she's like a high, beautiful psychic. High priestess. She's a high priestess. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who a lot of people have a general idea of what Reiki is, but Sam, could you kind of walk through what Reiki is and talk about the stones? And if I were to come in for my first reading, what would it entail, as opposed to if I kept seeing you?
So that question might be a little bit better for Mae, because she does a little bit more of that within her practice, where I'm a little different in my approach with my photography when you come in as my client.
Okay, cool.
So,
all right, well, we'll pass it on over to you, and just walk as if I were just like, all right, I'm going in for my first.
So if you come in, so most Reiki practitioners, the whole practice is they pray over, they put their hands over you, they put light over you, and they put healing symbols over you, and that's main basics of it. When you start getting advanced, you have someone that can translate messages, channel messages, be able to help pull some attachments out. You're really now a high priestess stuff, a lot more high intuitive stuff, and that's more advanced. And so when Christy did my Reiki, and I did some self-healing with her, and then I did ayahuasca, and that's a whole nother story. When I met Pachamama, and she presented me my ancestors and her, and they did tell me, they said, this is what you're going to be doing with your career. You're going to be helping people and healing people through energy work. And I did not know what that meant, but now 2 years later, I do now know what that means. But when you come in, it really is about the intentions. So I would ask you, say, kids, what is your intention? Because we all have free will, and I can't force you. I can't tell you what to do. I can't, make you do anything. But if you say, I really feel really tired, I feel really uninspired, I just want to get some light, be able to breathe. Yeah. And so I just lay you down, and all you do is just sit there and breathe. I do guided meditations depending on what we're trying to clear and charge up. But I like my sessions to be very thorough and very intimate. And I don't know, it feels like it's like a beautiful little ceremony.
Well, and it's also highly personalized too.
Yeah.
Talk to our listeners about the stones.
The stones?
Yeah.
I focus, it depends on the chakras. So I always just tell clients, I said, like your root chakra is red, and if you feel like you're not being supported, if you feel like you're lacking security, if you're not having financial abundance, wear more red. Think more red down to your root chakra. That just means that you don't feel supported. And then like the heart chakra, if you're feeling like you're heartbroken, wear more green. Wear green like what's a green stone?
Malachite.
Like malachite.
Yeah.
And so just kind of teaching clients like which chakra is blocked and how we can amp up that energy with the color stones. And the two main thing is I love amethyst, which is the purple one, and I love rose quartz. Those are the two that are most popular.
Yeah, the heart opener. I love that.
Yep.
So in terms of your photography, so I'm so curious, how do you go about incorporating the two?
So when a client comes in, I set the stage, I set the space within the intention of what we're going to create and the purpose. For me, I don't just take pictures to take pictures. Like there has to be an intention behind it. There has to be a purpose behind it. And it's also like, where are you using the photo at? Like, because it's like, if you don't know, then that's a whole other thing that we got to figure out, because is it for Facebook? Where's the photo going to live? So with that, for instance, like if you were to come in, I would then talk to you about like, what is your intention for sure. And then I would call in our guides and our angels and our higher selves, and I would call in yours, and we would do a little baby ceremony. And I think after that, it's just I talk to you and find out who you are, and really start to dig deep into that and what I can bring out of you as a person. I always say put it on my gravestone, but to truly see the beauty in what is real is like what I'm here to do. And what's really cool and interesting is diving into my past lives, which I'm an investigator. So it's like, what does that look like? And like going back into my Akashic records and looking at that. The common theme I've always been a record keeper.
That's so interesting.
So in different forms, even dated back to like Mesopotamia and like the drawings on the walls to other things like throughout history. And now a photographer. I know. And now in this lifetime, as a photographer, a visual storyteller.
That's so cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love to hear that, because I do believe there's a common thread within our being, and we're drawn to certain things, and photography is very interesting. My mother used to take photographs of me back when I was a child, and she actually started out like Super 8 film, and she had this beautiful, beautiful dark room. And it scared the shit out of me sometimes, though, because I was like these red lights, and she'd wear a kiss mask sometimes. Like she would, like Gene Simmons.
I don't want to meet your
She
mom.
she was so wild and so fun. And, she'd always like kind of, try to have fun with me, but also, I was always scared of the dark room, and I'd open up, and she's like, come in here. And then she'd like scare me. And the next thing I know, she'd be like, all right, now that you got the scares out of you, let's look and let's see what I created. And I just remember the magic of this image that would come. And then sometimes there would be these orbs of light in the picture. And so many pictures of me as a child, she captured, and it's so beautiful to have them. And there's something very beautiful about photography that is on film. Is there something like, do you ever miss the romance of that? Do you still shoot on it?
That is the true art of photography, and that's where I started in my roots. And I was fortunate enough, I grew up in Lawrence, so Lawrence school system, I had darkroom photography in 7th grade. So that was my first taste of the darkroom, and I literally went to college for photography on a high jump scholarship.
I love it.
So I got my school paid for and didn't have to go into debt in art school. So
that's
cool.
Amazing. Do you ever revisit it, or are you mostly digital now?
So I'm digital, but I still shoot analog, is what we call it.
Yeah.
And there's a ethereal beautiful essence about film photography. I think digital's great. It's easy access. You know, you don't have to worry about the overhead. The cost is super low. So you get into film photography, and I still shoot film for fun, or I'll bring it out as just a second thing when I'm shooting artists or whoever. And, you know, and then getting that developed, you know, it's like you could take the photo, you know, on digital, but it's different when it's on film. And I don't care how much post-processing or filters you use
it's an
to it on the
impression.
digital. It's just like, that was literally a split millisecond moment in time when you got that photo, and there's something so beautiful about that I love. And we've done some workshops together, and the one thing that's really interesting in doing photo and video is Spirit says, like, there are certain moments that should not be videoed, and I've actually seen my camera like glitch out to it.
Oh, I love.
Which
I
is
actually really like. I do. I like to hear that.
Yeah, and then I shot this. We all know the Elms is haunted.
Yes.
There's lots of souls that are still there, and I shot this retreat out there, and there's a series of 10 photos within the mix, and this is a brand new camera.
Yeah.
Like, technically, I've asked a couple other photographer friends, and they're just like, can't explain it. But there's like this black like thing through the photo, and it's always at these pillars. And it's just, it's not like a scary energy. Yeah. It's more of just like a dense energy. Like, there's just a lot there.
Yeah.
But the next day I was going through them, and I was like, what the?
I don't know. I love it because there's a side of me that is a little bit dark. And what I mean by that is I've always wanted to look the boogeyman in the eye. And I think it's because of my nightmares, and I've always been somebody who I love horror films, but I also really love a good haunted story. And I don't know if you guys have watched on Netflix The Haunting.
We've got a few stories for you. I don't know how much time you have.
Oh, I mean, I love it because it makes you feel like for me, a good ghost story, or feeling or seeing those images or feeling that energy, it allows you to have hope that our souls go somewhere, and energetically we go somewhere. I always feel a little bit sad when I talk to my atheist friends who are like, well, we just turn to dust. And I'm like, well, I'd really like to say that I could get on that, but I really want to believe that we go somewhere else. So it's pretty cool that you are in a line of work that I think has a lot of magic to it, and you're still practicing the tradition of the analog, because I do love the idea of a light reflection and reflecting right back on paper, and it's like an imprint, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to dive into the ayahuasca part, because for me, I've always been deeply into therapy. I do EMDR, and ayahuasca, I believe, the more that I've read about it, because my husband and I have been like, maybe we want to try this, is this sense of opening up some what would be closed doorways in our energetic pathways. How, again, for our listeners, how is ayahuasca attributed to Reiki? How is it used? Is it always something that is not used within Reiki? I know not everybody's going to do ayahuasca, but is it something that when you are studying Reiki, that it's something that should be, if you're going to go down the path of like a level 3 healer, or if you're somebody who is seeking that opening the doorways? Talk to me about it and how it is related to Reiki.
Ayahuasca and Reiki is not related at all. My journey is just different from other people. When I did Reiki, I got my Reiki 1 certification, and then I did Reiki 1, and then right after that, the universe presented me with ayahuasca. I did ayahuasca, and that's when I met my ancestors, and I met Pachamama, and it was very clear. I saw their faces. I mean, have you seen Black Panther.
Yes.
When he drinks the purple drink and he sees his grandfather, that was ayahuasca.
Interesting.
So the purple drink is symbolic. It is ayahuasca in in Black Panther. They won't say it, but that's what it is. So that is what happened to me. Like when he drank the purple drink, he laid down and he literally, his spirit went into the spirit realm and he connected with his father and says, what should I do? And that's exactly what happened to me. I asked my ancestors, says, what should I do? And they said, you're going to be doing energy work. You're going to be helping people energetically. And so right after that, I said, okay. So I went to get my Reiki 2. That's when you can actually start working on people. And then right after that, I went to go get my Reiki 3. And that's when you get attunement and you get symbols. And so within 6 months, I actually did 4 ayahuasca ceremonies, and I got my certification 1, 2, and 3 within 4 to 6 months. So I was on a very accelerated path so that I can do the work that I do now. And everyone's not going to be called to this because it is a responsibility, and it's an amazing responsibility, but it is a lot of work. And so I encourage everyone, like Samantha said, to do Reiki 1 because you learn how to go within and love yourself. When you start doing Reiki 2, you know how to help others love themselves. But when you start getting into Reiki Master, you learn sacred symbols. You are now pursuing higher intuitive work. And you really are taking on that responsibility to help people and help them heal themselves. And it's not for everyone, but for those who want to pursue it, it's definitely something I would say should go hand in hand doing ayahuasca, because ayahuasca strips you of your ego and lets you see your highest potential. And when you see that, you remove fear. So you really can't help someone else if you still have fear. Does that make sense?
Completely.
So that's where it has helped me to help others, because I feel like if I did Reiki and I never did ayahuasca, I would be helping people when I have fear within me.
I understand.
But yeah.
So I'm curious because I have come across several Reiki healers and people who have practiced Reiki. They're not healers themselves, but they go in on, I don't know. I mean, I think I have one girlfriend who will go in maybe every other week. I have another friend who goes in every month. But the conversation on ayahuasca is completely hand in hand with Reiki. So how did the two, you think, because culturally they're so different, and you said, and you've just said like they're completely different, how do you think they became such sisters? Because I do feel like it is now a conversation with a lot of people within.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Reiki is healing hands. It's love energy. It's universal life force energy, and it's a tool that we add to our tool belt. And ayahuasca is an entirely different sacred medicine that
Allows you to tap into that
allows
toolbox.
you to just elevate your soul.
Yes.
So the two, there's a nice, beautiful marriage between the two. And I think it's just the direction that you want to take on your spiritual path for yourself. So, I mean, it's not for everyone.
What's the biggest misconception that you found when people have asked you about it, or they've gone into it and they were not prepared?
Oh, I have a lot. So ayahuasca, a lot of people think it is a part of, I don't want to say the word Satan's work, but because that's a very bold statement. I'm trying to figure out another way to say it. People think, so Pachamama is Mother Earth, Mother Gaia. She's the goddess of earth, and her medicine is ayahuasca. That is her medicine. So when you take her medicine, it is a God molecule. It is pure DMT from the earth, and once you take it, your soul leaves your vessel, and you are traveling to all these different dimensions and different realms. What's can be a negative about that is, like you said earlier, if you don't have a correct shaman, if you don't have correct guidance, your soul can travel into these realms that is very dark and can be very scary. And you can your vessel can be possessed. Because when you go into another realm and all these other spirits sees that you're floating through their world, they're like, who is this person?
Yeah.
Where'd they come from? Let's play.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous. And, you know, I've heard from my shaman that I went to, she says, be very careful because there's so many people who's looking for help, and you have all of these fake shamans who will use this as a way to lure women and take advantage of women while they're under the medicine. So it's very important to research your shaman, their credibility, because there is a lot of people out there, just like how there's bad drug dealers.
Well,
bad
100%.
doctors.
And always trust your intuition
Yes.
at the end of the day.
Yes.
Like, if it doesn't feel right in your gut, like, don't do it.
Well, my other question is that when you experienced your first, because to me there's a level of how do you research it, and then the other thing is that most of the time it is out of the country.
Word of mouth.
And then the other thing is that you may have a shaman who is deeply spiritual.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of the things you experience in your mind and in your heart and when the soul is elevated can be seriously traumatizing to some people, especially those who have had any kind of traumatic experience. So my other question is that if you're out in the middle of nowhere with the shaman.
Hold on, I'm going to forget. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have an answer why Reiki is so well with ayahuasca. Thank you. Now I know why.
Okay.
Those who really want to do ayahuasca, I recommend everyone to do some sessions with Reiki, only because you are being more tapped in. There's a level of protection. There's a level of clearing. And you're getting energetically prepared for a ceremony like ayahuasca. So any of my clients who says, I want to do ayahuasca, I would say, have you got any Reiki session? Have you done any quantum touch healing? Have you done any hypnosis? Have you done anything energetically to prepare yourself? Because you cannot go into ayahuasca with no intentions and blindfolded. So that is to answer your question why Reiki and ayahuasca is going hand in hand, because you do need to go through some sort of blessings and praying and clearing before you do something so big like ayahuasca. So Reiki is a introduction into ayahuasca because it was for me. Does that make sense, Sam?
I feel like it's kind of the doctorate for the soul. So if you haven't gotten your bachelor's or your master's of opening up your body, and then the other thing is even if you are at this transcendent place, most of us aren't licensed therapists or psychologists or my God, just even someone who is schooled in the study of the human mind. So after you experience this higher elevation of your senses and memories and all of the things that I have heard, it's a lot to digest. So when you experienced from your first to your fourth, correct? You did it 4 times?
I've done a total of 8 times.
Oh, 8 times total.
In like 8 months.
Wow.
Don't do that.
That's right.
I don't recommend it to
She's like,
anybody.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, but my question is that how were you able to digest, to
Mae went on the accelerated gifted program
Yes.
of her spirituality.
Mine's very accelerated. So when I tell people, if a regular person did what I did, they would have a psychotic breakdown and they would be in a mental institute. That's because my program is so accelerated. But everyone's different because I am very in tune. I know what I'm capable of and what I can handle. Other people who doesn't know themselves just yet, they obviously need some guidance. But going into doing ayahuasca, you have to be very intentional.
Yes.
Very intentional. Because if you don't have intentions, the spirit world will fuck you up.
I'm sure.
I mean,
trust me, this regular world is fucking me up, let alone, you know.
You have no idea.
So for you, I'm curious about your experience with it.
Yeah, I wanted to just say, it's very intentional. You purify your body beforehand. Like, there's a very, very strict diet. Like, y'all think, like, Whole30 is hard.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca diet is...
Yeah.
No sex, no drugs, no alcohol, no caffeine. You
Yeah,
are a
no
monk
dairy, gluten,
for a
soy.
week.
There's even certain, like, food. I mean, like, literally your list of food is, like, 20 foods. That's it.
How long
It's
does...
for like, a week. Like, yeah.
All right.
And that's so that you're not, like, I guess, purging
toxins from the other stuff.
Toxins and all this other stuff. But, you know, it's a sacred medicine. You know, we have to pay respect to where it's coming from. And it's the least we can do in literally preparing our vessel for, like, accepting what that gift is that we're about to receive. So there's a lot of that. And my journey was in nature. And I love that. It was set in the evening. And as you feel the medicine coming on, you just look up at the canopy, and even the cicadas were in sync with like how the music was playing with the shaman. Yeah. And Mae was with me.
Yeah. Your first time was with me.
Oh, duh. She brought so much fun stuff.
I love it.
We have our oils and we have our crystals.
I know how to have a good time.
She does. She's like, don't you love me as your best friend? I was like, yes, because you brought all the cool stuff. But yeah, I saw Pachamama. I saw the grid, which is some people refer to as the matrix. It, as a visual person, it gave me so much more clarity. I went through some past lives, which is really interesting because your physical self can be like moaning and groaning, but like in your head, you're just processing. Yeah. So it's like you open your eyes and you're like, I was processing a past life, you know, and it was very, very hard. And I was moaning and groaning really loud, I guess. And the facilitator came over and tapped me on the shoulder and was just checking on me. And I, you know, it's like, are you okay? And it's like, yeah, totally fine. Yeah. You know, so it's a lot of like headspace. So it's mind over matter. So you really have to be in the right mindset going into like whatever you do, so that it can, like, you can fully get the full experience out of it. And I think through it all, like, I processed some stuff with my father, who isn't alive anymore. I never really knew. So that was really, really powerful. And I'm just, you know, just getting up and moving the energy, remembering that is a thing. And just, I mean, I don't know. What
was the scariest part? I know the purging is always like, ugh, it can be violent, or it can be. Have you always purged every time?
My first time, no, because I asked my spirit guides. I said, "Am I going to shit myself?" And I heard a
right?
no. Am I going to
puking
puke
and
on
shitting?
myself?
It's like why am I doing this?
So Pachamama, she's an amazing goddess, because she will speak to you that best resonates with you. So when I first did ayahuasca, it was the daytime, and I remember right when it was hitting me, I was looking at the clouds, and I saw Betty Booper. Is it Betty Booper? Betty Boop. I saw Betty Boop on the clouds, and I was like, is that a cartoon in the clouds? And then I was like, is that you, Pachamama? And she winked at me, and she said yes. So she came to me as a cartoon character, very fun, very alive, and like a best friend. Because sometimes she'll come to you as a grandma, sometimes she'll come to you as an animal. She came to me as for some reason, Betty Boop. And that's right when she says, it's me. And then next thing you know, it was boom, I saw my grandfather's face. And that's when I went to this whole tunnel of like how my family sacrificed everything during the Vietnam War to get here. I mean, it was very powerful. But I would say one of the most scariest things is when I asked this question, when I went through all my journey with my ancestors, I said, Pachamama, will you show me what heaven is, and will you show me what hell is? And she says, are you sure about that? I said, yes. And she said, are you ready for that? And I said, yes. And she said, I'm going to show you heaven first. And I said, okay. So next thing you know, she says, sit up and look at the clouds. I saw the clouds. Next thing you know, the clouds got whiter, and whiter. And I felt like my spirit was getting purer, and pure. And tears were rolling down my face, because I was like, I felt no pain. I felt no guilt. I felt no shame. I felt very, very like joyful, very at bliss. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so amazing. And I just started crying because it was so pure. And she says, okay, are you ready to see hell? And I said, yes. And next thing you know, I'm thinking like what the Bible, like heaven is like dark dragons and fire and all this stuff. But all of a sudden the room got really, really gray. And then all of a sudden I heard little bugs just crawling. And my mind, like my spirit, went from pure to agony, to fear, to suicidal. I was having suicidal thoughts. I was having depression. I was having all this chaotic within me. And she says, honey, hell doesn't exist. It exists within your head. It's all in mind. So what you create is your reality. And that is why she was telling me, she says, hell doesn't exist because it already exists on earth. Yes. And she said, where else do you go where people want to commit suicide? Where else do you go when people are stealing children and hurting others and wanting to die? That's nowhere else. That's here on earth. Yeah. And I started crying. And this is when Avicii just died. One of my favorite artists. By the way, he was a light worker. He was going to expose some secrets, and that is why he passed away.
Isn't it? It's always very sad when someone who brings so much light.
He was a light worker.
And just so much energy and so much I don't know, just joy.
And she told me, she said, because she would always bring something that you are familiar with. So she was saying, look at Avicii. And I was thinking of Avicii. I'm like, oh my God, he was my favorite artist. And she said, look what hell can do. And, you know, they say he committed suicide, but that's
He's a cover.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah.
But
when I had that was very powerful.
Yeah.
And she says, hell doesn't exist anywhere else. It exists on earth. And you have the power to create your reality. So when I woke up from my medicine, it was game over. Really game over, because I realized all this time we're shunned by religion. If you do this, you go to hell. You do this, you go to heaven. It's like a brownie points. And it's like, that's why there's so many people are glitching, because they're afraid to be bad, but then when they're bad, they think they're damned. And it's like, no, just understand why you came back to earth, to have human experiences and to fulfill your soul contract, complete, clear your karmic debt, and help guide others to the light. And that's it. And it's really beautiful to see life in that perspective, and it's allowed me to sleep a lot better because of it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I guess this will bring me into your past lives and how you even were introduced to someone who, it was a reading, correct? Was it a reading? And how the two of you came to know that you were intertwined.
Can I tell this story?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll let you have
No,
this
because
one.
it's really
Alright.
powerful.
Yeah.
The moment I woke up, my powers came. I woke up. And the thing is, some people do ayahuasca because they needed guidance. I did ayahuasca because I needed confirmation. So I thought I was going crazy. And then when I saw my ancestors, they said, all those voices you heard growing up in your life, that was us. I was like, what? Okay, so I'm not crazy. They said, no, we've been trying to talk to you. And I said, okay. So after I woke up from my trip, my journey, I'm sorry. And next thing you know, I was able to master manifest. And when I did ayahuasca, they did tell me, one of the visions I had is they said, you're going to be on stage and you're going to be helping millions of women. And I was like, how am I going to get there? Mind you, I just left Mary Kay. So I'm like, it's not a Mary Kay. Where is it going to be? And they said, don't worry. The woman that you're going to be requires you lots of resources and a team, and we will provide that for you. And I said, okay. Because I was like, I need a photographer, I need a videographer, I need an entourage, I need this. And they said, we'll take care of that for you. And so next thing you know, I was praying. I said, I'm really looking for an amazing woman who's not just a photographer, but that can like really see me, really understand energetically. And so I've been praying and praying. And that's when all of a sudden Sam was messaging me all these reference and these things. And I was like, who is this girl? Okay, she's a photographer. Okay, her work is nice. I like it. And next thing you know, that's when I invited her to my party. And that's when it really happened. And we became best friends. And then I had a reading last year on my birthday. 27th birthday. I got my Akashic Records reading, and I wanted to know me and Sam's relationship. And in a past life, she was my son, and there we had war, and I had to ship her off and stay behind, and we separated when she was 8 years old. Well, he was 8 years old, and I was the mother. And in this lifetime, we came back as best friends so that we can help each other.
That's so interesting. So Sam, when you heard this,
We cried.
that you were a young
my
boy,
God.
I love it.
We were holding hands.
I love
We
it.
were like
She was
this.
like, "Ah,"
I
and
love
I was
it.
like, son.
I love
I was
it.
like, Mom. And then, I think a little bit more to that story was she was hosting. So this is even crazy. This is just, I love the universe so much. And one of my things this year is like, allow the universe to romance you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
know
love
what I mean?
that. I
Like,
think
that's just my
amazing.
thing. And when you stop to look at the synchronicities and everything, when everything is in alignment with your life, all these magical things happen. I mean, you see things. Like, the people that come into your life, that's why it's like if I bid on a job and I don't get it, I'm not mad about it, because I just know that wasn't in line with my truest purpose in this lifetime. So...
But before, you didn't think that way.
But before, I didn't think that way.
Yep.
So it's just shifting myself and really finding myself again on the inner, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this story back to, she did this closet sale. She had this girl show up. That's another story.
Yeah, that is a whole
man.
nother story.
Oh,
You're
man.
going to love that.
Anyways.
Bring me back for that
I will.
story.
Oh my
I
God.
will.
People are waiting
Totally.
for that one.
I love it.
I'll just skip to it. Long story short, we go to Hawaii together.
Yeah.
Last year for a mission, and
By the way, we met a goddess there. That's
Oh my God. How much time do we have?
I know, right? We are going to have to part two it for sure. I love it.
So no, we're sitting on these rocks next to each other, and she's just telling me, like, I manifested you into my life. Like, I was wishing for a best friend like you, and I was like, that's so funny, because I was wishing for someone like you to help me, bring me up, elevate me, give me that confidence that I knew I had in myself, but I just needed somebody to almost mentor me. So it's like I'm 33 years old and my mentor is a 26-year-old.
I love it.
Some crazy shit. But,
I love it. But that's interesting, because how interesting that you were her child in a former life, because that's always interesting. The youthful soul is sometimes in an older body, and sometimes a very old soul is in a younger body. So I guess it's so hard to wrap this up, because there's so many questions I have.
Well, and as we're sitting on the rock after we do the thing, and she says that, and then she says, Samantha, I used to really hate my life. And this fish jumps out of this
bright, beautiful fish came up and
jumps out of the water,
in front of us.
Bloop, 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 goes back in the water. We look at each other. We start crying again. We're freaking out. But that's just how the world is. It's like, it's amazing. Like, I just can't.
I love it.
I could go on and on.
How has your businesses changed since this awakening in you?
Where's the fan?
So powerful. My first time I did ayahuasca, this is the time when the pitch Kansas City. Okay, this is gonna be my last statement. It's gonna be my last powerful statement. At the time, the pitch was having Best of awards. And I was nominated for 4 categories: Best Brows, Best Makeup Artist, Best Esthetician, Best Bridal Makeup Artist back in 2018. And I didn't even know what this was, but I got nominated. And so when I did ayahuasca, and at that time I was very lost too, I was like, I'm really looking for a mentor. I'm looking for someone that's stronger than me, that's older than me, that's just like me but more powerful. So pretty much I was trying to ask for me, but older version of me. So when Pachamama looked at me, she says, honey, the girl that you've been praying for doesn't exist because it needs to be you. And I was like, what? And she said, yeah, the girl that you are praying for needs to be you, so that you can be that for everybody else. And we got your back. And next thing you know, 3 months later, I became #1 in all 4 categories. And that really put me up on a bigger platform. And they told me, they said, don't get cocky now, but we put you on this platform so that you can start helping these young girls. And 3 years in a row, I've been Best Makeup Artist, and it's been a platform for me to help girls, because so many girls love makeup, so many girls love beauty, so many girls love skin. And so it's easier to bring light to girls with beauty than sitting with the crystal ball and saying, I'm a psychic.
100%. And how beautiful is the ritual that we take to look at ourselves, look at our eyes in the mirror.
Yeah.
And we adorn ourselves with, to me, I don't know, some days it's war paint, sometimes it is the seduction from my husband, sometimes it's to make me feel like I'm stronger than I was before, and other days it's to, I don't know, sometimes it's fun to play a part, and that's okay. I think I love makeup, and I've always thought it was a thing that I love it that my husband's a little bit like, he likes lotions and he'll trim his beard. He has his rituals, but I think it's so important that we do take that moment and look at ourselves in the mirror and see ourselves. And makeup gives us that excuse. It's pretty cool. How has your business changed?
Wow. I was officing at a production company for 6 years, and it was great. I liked the experience and everyone there, and I had no intention of even owning a studio, at least for another year to 3 years, like 3 to 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, it was not even on my radar to even like go down that path, but even the synchronicities within the production company and what was happening to like what aligned with me after I even did a Reiki session with Mae. It was like, I don't even remember, back in 2018, and since then everything has like literally just gone up, 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 up. And I had gone out south to my friend's shop, Hand in Land, and I was visiting her. Something just told me to go see her, and then we're in there and she's like, yeah, our new shop. And I was like, wait a second, how long have we known each other and you're just telling me this now? Like, what? She told me about this building that they're moving into, and it was it's a building I've driven by for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I see it every morning and every night when I used to live in Hyde Park, driving to the downtown. And I just always had these thoughts of like, wow, that'd be a beautiful studio, or even live there. Like, look at all the parking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then she was like, well, I can connect you with the owner or the building person. And I said, yes. So I met them that week. I took a friend with me to just kind of objectively look at the situation. And I'm one of those people, when I know, I know. So when I stepped into the space and I saw it, I was like, well, yes. I was like, where do I sign? Where do I write the check? And it was, since then, it was, I mean, that was February 2018 is when I signed the lease. It was like 3 weeks later, and it was like a lot of money. But never once did I get anxious. Like, I might have had financial issues like other parts of my life, but like with that investment in my business, like I was not anxious at all. And that's how I knew it was meant to, like the universe was providing, and I needed to trust in that. And it was all in alignment with everything that has happened. So it took about a year since then to actually get the build out done. So I moved in January of 2020.
Wow.
And had the space booked up until July, and then COVID hit, and it was just kind of like,
so wild.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll see what happens. And since we've kind of come out of lockdown, it's been like I can't keep the doors shut.
Mm-hmm.
Like things just keep flooding in, and I need to hire people. And it's becoming that part of my business where it's like invigorating and it's stressful and it's like all these things, but it's so beautiful at the same time. And every day I go into my space, which is called Fair, which means lighthouse or beacon in French. I just bless it every day. I'm so thankful because it's like people come in and they're like, oh my God, you're so lucky to be in this space. And I'm like, I'm not lucky, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like it's in true alignment of my purpose and what I'm supposed to do here. So
I love hearing that.
yeah.
Well, you two have a really exciting announcement on both of your parts. So I'm going to have you start.
So ever since ayahuasca, she says, we are going to help you. We're going to push you, and you're going to be the light for us. And you know, I just got announced that I made Best Makeup Artist again 3 years in a row.
That gives me goosebumps.
And it's been so powerful because when I did ayahuasca, they also told me, they said, do you want to know why you reincarnated back and love facials? It's because the moment you touch their third eye, you wake them up. And so not only do I do Reiki, I do quantum touch healing, I translate messages. It's just really powerful. Like, I just know the moment I touch someone's face, it's game over. Like, I'm like literally waking up a powerful woman, and it's really, really powerful.
Well, congratulations. I'm so glad to hear that this happened for you again, and I'm even more excited because now having this time with you, it is the word deserve is always because we don't want to say we deserve anything, but it feels like it's well earned.
Thank you. I do like that better.
Yeah. So, and you.
Mine is I won Best Photographer in Kansas City.
Yes!
Which is incredible.
Mother, son, best friend.
I mean,
we did it, baby.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's something pretty amazing. And I don't know, whether it be manifestation, whether it be a calling, whether it be actual connection and just listening to what's within you. I think this is the kind of conversation that so many people need to hear right now. That even though some of us still feel kind of trapped in our boxes and we're trying to open up those doors out of COVID, we're trying to see the light somewhere. I think it's so lovely to see two women really have a good energy and open up doorways for each other in more ways than one. Not just in friendship, but my God, enlightenment, and now bringing it to other people who step into your studio and who have you, who lay their hands on them. I think it's pretty amazing. It's so cool. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is you both, I'm going to get a little choked up. You both used a saying my dad says on repeat to a point where I want to kill him. He always says, long story short. So it's kind of cool that you guys both said that. So your energies are so in line. And
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I opened up a little bit beforehand, and you guys definitely read my energy, and thank you, because it makes me feel, it made me feel a lot better.
Thank you for having us.
You guys are great, and I'm going to have you guys back, because who doesn't want to know what Kansas City's best makeup artist and photographer has on the horizon? So I can't wait to have you ladies back. And for those of you who like this episode, please like and subscribe, because that, in the algorithm matrix of the frickin' world, I need you to like and subscribe. So please support your local podcaster.
Like, subscribe.
And these women are incredible. So take a look. Mae Monroe, Sam, Levi. So great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
See you later.